Welcome to episode 4072 of Evangelist.
Well, actually, this would be close to our 10-year. This weekend was our
this next
52
fortnight.
times 10.
Nice.
Is for the WTF and TFW podcast.
So you're that consistent. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely consistent.
How have I not been on this enough then?
Well, we've been trying, and you know what? It's a 3-year build-up, which means it's the sickest, sweetest podcast.
I better come up with some stuff.
When was the last time we talked in a recorded fashion? That was
14.
Yeah,
I mean, we tried.
Back.
We tried last year, but I was tired and
no worries.
Cons happen.
The one thing I don't like doing is like pressuring someone to talk and then going, "Oh, you didn't talk to me." Afterwards, it's like, what's the point? Like, we have voice over IP, which means the ball's in my court.
And you just constantly just go, whoa, dropped it.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's why they call me. I'm Chris Ball Dropper, internet personality.
And again, it happens when Mr. Smith is here to make the connection with Mr. Archer.
Yeah, Aaron's my handler, and Aaron's my guest.
Hey,
okay, so I have thoughts about instruction books. I'm curious what your thoughts are on instruction books. You're taking a look at one right now for The Red Dragon by Fans Hobby. I'm looking at the box.
Yeah. Instructions were always tricky. There's legal requirements, that Hasbro had. And it was a whole enterprise for the people who did that. To transpose gray pictures into, technical art, essentially.
Yeah. I got
But most of us don't like the instructions, because it's the fun of the puzzle is to figure out without the instructions.
I'm glad to kind of hear part of that, but no, that's always a thing that I know that we'll rant on when we get something new that's got maybe a complex step or two in it, and it's all it shows you this click as a little tiny thing in 2-scale.
It's very difficult for those guys to take a model that Takara designed without any input of ease or complexity of how do you show that. And then it just gets dropped on their desk with the photos, and they gotta do their best to communicate to kids, essentially.
Yeah.
So that
I would love to know that part of the art department also. That's like, why not an inset? Like, hey, show this important thing, and like even so I understand language now. You have to be like trilingual or quadlingual for sales purposes, but truly like click is an automatopoeia, that it's not like le click in French to show like, no, this one should make noise.
Yeah.
Well, we don't talk that much about le click. Anymore.
What is this wee stuff? Are you suddenly French Canadian?
Yes.
Okay.
I live here. Thank you. Off that, the one thing I've always been saying, and it's hard to say because on the side, I guess now. Well, no, fully still. I like video stuff. I like making video stuff. And the thing that I feel is missing from official, unofficial, not just Hasbro, but also Bandai, is some video form instruction, and one that does not have background music, because the onomatopoeia of the piece is important to know if I'm breaking it or not, I feel.
That's interesting. Yeah. I imagine that it just comes down to budget and time.
Yeah.
Because, there's 250 plus Transformers designed and made by Hasbro at least every year.
Yeah.
The team that makes the instructions and things are small. One guy, two guys, and then maybe there's some outside technical people transposing that to black and white art. And they got to get it done on the schedule and have it be somewhat right, and to then add a video would be good. That is the right answer. But when would that video, I guess, would be made with the production toy would be better than the prototype.
Having handled other company prototypes.
Prototype transforming is terrible.
Yeah.
We could talk about that separately. But to communicate all that stuff, it's extreme.
Tricky.
And then, you add in extra budget.
Yeah.
So now we got to film a whole bunch of stuff for 250 characters, and then have bandwidth to put it on a website and drive people to that said website, and hope they pay attention to the deluxe figure that really didn't need instructions because it's so stupid simple. But we have to make a video for all of them, and then it becomes a whole thing.
Yeah.
But on key items, some masterpiece or bigger guys or more complex guys, I think that's a smart move.
It's where you're lost. I
think they've done some of that, but it's been limited.
Yeah, for your mainline, absolutely.
And probably it has done it for a few years.
Like if you break a mainline thing, it's also that's $20 out. But the one that jumps to mind is MP36 Megatron, where there are parts where not knowing the sound makes him a lot scarier.
I sheared a couple of tabs off of him.
I broke the nose off my Masterpiece Starscream.
Yeah.
You know, it just,
I think everybody shaved the nose on that one.
yeah.
There was an official video. Bandai did one for a high-end Macross piece, and what killed me, they actually shot a video. It was an iPhone in the office, obviously, but they shot a video. But then they put looping background music over the whole thing, and I couldn't hear the toy anymore.
Yeah.
By the way, for the listeners who've been chilling out for 7 minutes, going, "What's going on?" We're sitting here at TFcon with Aaron Archer, as we said on the top, our big build-up, the interview. We're gonna get down to the truth of the matter, something. So for those who don't know, and I don't know why you're listening to this if you don't, but Aaron Archer was to put lightly, he was the top Transformers dude at BotCons for a while from the team, who'd come in and with a whole bunch of other team members.
That's exactly how it was written on my business card.
Yeah, top Transformers dude. But then you like bumped up the ladder to like top of Boys Toys. You were there to have a hand in the big old Transformers live action movie franchise in its infancy through to its permanent teenagedom, I guess one could say.
Yep.
And then you step back and you've gone to freelance artistry, as I like to call it.
Yeah, totally.
So you've done Q&As at TFcons before. You've had quite a life.
Yeah. I've been part of this scene now since certainly 03 actively.
Yeah.
And then certainly before that, just participating in the brand. But you guys didn't know me until 2003.
Yeah, and you sort of erupted out of the shade of Orson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, like the first thing I love talking to you about is you look back on the aughts, right? And what the fandom was like then, what the convention scene was like. I mentioned in a panel earlier, like the connection between your team and the fans through BotCon panels. And fast forward to I guess 2018, where we've got active, if filtered, obviously, media presence by the Transformers team online.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of concepts that in the aughts were stated to be basically impossible with the resources the aughts had, that now have moved through and come to fruition. Like, is it are there, like, you've had your hand in things still here and there, obviously, but it's got to be nuts, like thinking about like.
Well, you know, I got in at an interesting time where the 80s had happened and then it kind of went somewhat dormant. I came into Kenner Hasbro in '95, right before Beast Wars launched. The first waves had been designed in Rhode Island. They moved to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that, from then on, and then certainly from 2000 on, like RID, you know, it was about like recapturing this lost brand. You know, it was not lost to you guys. You had participated the whole time in various ways, or on those early BotCons when it was a room no bigger than our room here.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So the first part of the aughts certainly was like Hasbro just re-engaging and like what's happening? How do we get people into it? How do we get the drum beat in a bigger way? So it's been an interesting ride to then now it's an evolved brand and global, and like people's grandma know it to some degree, and just it's a little harder to surprise these days, I imagine. Back when I introduced Masterpiece or alternators, or it was like, wow, we've been starving for this.
Yeah.
Now if they come out with that, it's like, oh, more of that.
I mean,
they're in a different spot. Came in. That's where I say I came in at a spot where there was room to rebuild the empire.
Yeah.
Now the empire is great. Now you have to worry about the walls falling down, not building new walls, and that's a totally different scenario when you reach success for the guys that are working on the brand and gals today that I didn't have to deal with. No one was watching what we were doing because they didn't think it was important, other than do a good job, keep the step every year getting bigger and bigger. Right?
I love throwing out there just like as far as like just concepts that we hammered through, right? Of the ones that in the aughts we all kind of accept, like, this probably doesn't make any sense to come out anymore. But then we hit a playset size Transformer in Metroplex, and then we hit a line of combiners along with a large Devastator.
Yes, I definitely remember your BotCon talk saying that, like, combiners aren't tenable. We just can't do it
in this atmosphere, right?
Yeah, in that atmosphere. It always comes down to what a market can bear and what can you make for that price, right? And that's any business. And for a while, a $200 item or $150 item was just out of bounds.
Yeah, now we're looking at
out of bounds.
What was it for Masterpiece Megatron? Beast Wars.
Oh, Beast Wars, yeah. Well, he's
325
okay. No, what I'll say,
or whatever in the US.
What I'll say is, if you pre-order him from Japan, he is $250.
Right.
Because the MSRP, I'm going on a rant now, but the MSRP is this, but a lot of the time you're not paying the full-on, in-your-face Japanese MSRP. He's 5k yen over Dinobot, who is also a very pricey piece, and Megatron is like Dinobot, but a lot bigger. But yeah, we are also looking at a Beast Wars Megatron that does clear the 30k yen mark.
Yeah.
I told David K that yesterday. I was like, "Did you know you are now the most expensive Beast Wars toy and Transformers toy?"
And we're I mean, we always talk about it that there's a generation of G1, then there's the generation of Beast Wars. They're not mutually exclusive, but you can come into it different ways. And we're really starting to get to those Beast Wars people and focus on them. You know, how many G1 Optimuses do we all need at a high prestige level? We got
apparently we got more.
Yeah, maybe. But like there are 5 to 7 great ones.
Right.
Great ones. So it's awesome to see that shift into that next generation even a little bit. You know?
Yeah, and I appreciate, and I don't want to dismiss people who are worried about a rising price ceiling, or that they are being priced out of the higher end collectibles, and I sympathize completely.
So what does a third party high end guy go for?
So this is
$200, $300.
Yeah, this is the weird thing is,
so I don't know what you're talking about.
Third party found some weird ceiling after a while of like. If you hover around 180 US, it's like, well, that's approximately a masterpiece. Masterpiece scale. I did air quotes, everyone. I did big derisive air quotes, but that's because I have thoughts about that. So yeah, it's how do you put it? There's this weird shift now where on the high end scale, the official pieces have moved into more and more. Engineering that pushes the wall more and more, and then a lot of third-party companies that are not as far as I know, on the cusp of falling off a cliff, have dialed back to hover down to this, like, I think the Hasui Masterpiece car price point that a lot of people lament missing nowadays. What was it?
The
like?
Lambo, or
around 8,000 yen, somewhere in that window. It's the way the marketplace moves in the high-end level when you take into account unofficial and official, it still is kind of swishing around. Like, neither really replaces the other.
Yeah, I have we live in a world where there are haves and then there's kind of haves.
Yeah.
And, I talked a little bit about this in the panel yesterday, but there's low-end toys and now this, high-end market for almost a different consumer, that exists now, I think.
Yeah.
And it's an adjustment to us as we've watched it go up and down or grow. But these Chinese enthusiasts, middle class people who now have money, they want the most prestigious thing. They don't want to, they want the best character representation. So it just changed the game.
It's something that I think we in North America had to, and some people I think still haven't, but that I've come to learn and come to terms with a lot of third party or China oriented product. The Chinese audience is actually not us. Like, a lot of people have said, oh, why are they doing, for instance, why does one company just produce mass numbers of upscaled knockoff movie toys? Why does one company's original toolings veer towards movie masterpiece now? And it's because we want G1. And it's like, well, guess what? It turns out there's also these other audiences over there that are now being catered to by companies originating out of the area. And we still are a demographic, but it's always good to check yourself, I think, at a certain point. Sure. As a collector, I should say. This is part of this panel I did. I'm like we're there's I like that we interact as like collector and creator.
Yeah.
I think it's important, but I think it's important to always respect the small line that's there. Where I feel like a creator can be a collector can be a creator, but like to expect both of those mindsets to be present in decision making.
The creation of any item, whether I'm working for, not me personally, but one is working for a third party or one's working for Hasbro, there's just so many nuanced decisions that go beyond the obvious things that maybe you guys most care about.
Right.
Deco, articulation, representation, scale. There's market conditions. How many items are at a high-end price point? Well, we did a Decepticon last year. We don't want to do 2 in a row. Things that affect
Yeah.
how that decision finally gets made about who's next and why.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It gets a lot more business and murkier about the cool of the decision, and more about the money at the end of this whole enterprise.
That's always the thing that I liked remembering from some of those BotCon panels of somebody going like, oh well, why didn't we get this other red car? And one of the people up there has to say like, well, we had Optimus that was red, we had Sideswipe that was red, we had Inferno that was red. The market's redded out.
Yeah,
we got to go to something else.
Yeah, the variety of vehicle type, hero, villain, color, thematic character, hero, like sneaky guy, tough guy, crazy guy.
Yeah,
you want that blend. I kind of, it's always that classic Fantastic Four that you're trying to build, right? So those are the decisions that also are always happening in relation, and then you end up in these gaps, right? Oh, we need a flying Decepticon that can't be dark. Okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
Who can we use, or create a new thing, or
and the place we're in now, it's almost like, and this is an expectation that I'm trying to not hold as much anymore, because I feel it's almost stifling. But like, people are like, oh, there's a hole in the. Some fans will see like, oh, there's a bit of a hole in the cast. What G1 character can we jam in there? With a slight tweak, give them a mustache or something, I prefer the idea of like, we need a flyer, let's take some inspiration but build from the ground up. Not to dump on like I love Generations. It's just I really miss the feeling, like the feeling I got from that new Battle Trap that came out, where this is something I recall, but it's also so unexpected, and it's making so many less obvious decisions. It reminds me of older pre-Generations classics in a way, where there was this sort of swing of there was a little touch of Unicron trilogy in the 06 year, and then a little sprinkling of movie in the next one.
I mean, classics, whatever that gets called, right? It's ebbed and flowed. But it's been somewhat consistent. Those decisions are always weird. Because it's again, like I just said, the variety, and then we started trying to do different eras. Remember that? And trying to, who should we do from the Armada era, and who, then if we got Bumblebee all over the place, should we really do Hot Shot?
Right.
Like, that's a decision. I mean, very important to our Armada, Unicron stuff, but. Well, maybe not good for the toy shelf if there's so many Bumblebees glutting the shelf.
Right.
Do we need another yellow sports car?
You also got to have your moment though at that panel where you're like, "Hey, Walkie."
Yeah.
I was just thinking about
stand up. Check this out.
Don't move. I was thinking about some of those old BotCon panel moments. Just not a slight aside, but just like a little aside. I was remembering when Energon debuted, and. So it was the panel room with all those columns everywhere.
Yep.
And you guys
had a basement?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys had that video to debut where, I forgot what her name was. A member of the team, I think PR, possibly. She was very excited about this video she had put together of a lot of the finished stock footage set to Evanescence. That always just stuck in my mind, because I don't think we ever saw her again after that. Like, she was just sort of a fleeting team member. But that one BotCon, she was just so excited about this video she had put together.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know why that one always jumps to mind. It's that and Greg Lombardo throwing out someone who was taking photos.
Awesome.
After he said, "Hey," it was scary Greg.
Hey,
gotta go.
you.
Yeah, no, Greg, great guy.
Yeah.
Serious when he needs to be, for sure.
I've always wondered how he's doing. Like, is he? Do you know if he's still kicking around?
Yeah.
Is he still at Play-Doh, or is he bumped around?
He's in sales. He does. Yeah, he's been kind of moving on up in the company. You can learn a lot of different things when you're in marketing. You kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
And so he's on his track. He's doing great.
Yeah, he's one of those folks.
Him and Jerry are both doing what they got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And also a little bit of a veer here. I wanted to throw out there. I haven't caught up season 2 yet, so I haven't seen the big one, obviously, for Transformers convention. But you were doing some stuff with Toys That Made Us. Yeah. Did they reach out to you specifically?
Yeah, that's a good story. So I get this email, and they're like, "Hey, we're making this documentary. We'd like to talk to you." Okay, great. Yeah, get on the phone. And what they said was, we've contacted a bunch of people in fandom and different, Hasbro and different things, and everybody we've contacted says, have you talked to Aaron Archer? And so I get this call, and they're like, what's your deal? Like, why is everybody we got talked to about Transformers
because you have the dirt on everyone.
Have you spoke to Aaron Archer yet? And I'm like, well, no, who is this guy? And we had a great talk, and I explained to them, obviously, some of the things I was involved in and that we did overall in our thought process and things. And so they were like, oh, yeah, you're the guy we need to talk to. Let's talk some more. And it was a lot of fun. They did, I've worked on a lot of brands. People know me most for Transformers, but G.I. Joe was under my auspices, and definitely, obviously, episode 1, spent some time on Star Wars.
That was fun to see.
So it was cool to show, for me, just some of the other stuff that I've been a part of, and even if it was a couple snarky comments, it was fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
But I talked to them for 6 hours down in Cincinnati in the old, one of the old photography studios.
So was that all done in basically one?
The guy who shot old Star Wars package photography, it's his studio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he had great archive of stuff, and so that was his space. And
were they handling some of the season 2 stuff then as well, like Transformers and etc.?
No, because that would have been still in Rhode Island.
Okay.
This was the Kenner.
Oh, sorry,
I meant the Kenner guy. Yeah.
I meant the Toys That Made Us dudes. When they talked to you, was that all really just one big long day of?
No, they went all over the planet, man. And
Okay.
they spoke to they came to Hasbro, they went to Cincinnati, they went to Japan.
So you've not seen the Transformers?
I haven't seen season 2 yet.
Because the end of it has, in the end credits, has a video cassette-sized
No, I saw that.
cassette robot. Okay,
Yeah,
I was
I
going
saw
to say.
that.
I've talked about that before
Yeah.
at panels. I've seen some crazy stuff,
The gif of that spinning hit Twitter the day before that episode.
I told them, you're going to Japan, you need to see some of this, and I gave them a list of things they needed to see.
Yeah.
Because I went into the room, they pulled it out. We were doing that Covenant book.
Yeah.
So we wanted to look at what stuff still exists that no one has seen, for a long time, and they had it all laid out on the table. They had artwork, wood, patterns, which is a molding prototype made of wood, because that's how it was done back in the day.
Right.
And they were all 2-up, so a 2-up wood head of the Poseidon combiner. I don't know what the name of it. The fish,
Piranacon.
Yeah. And it's as big as a softball.
Yeah.
And wood. Oh, it's awesome. I teared up. I went in that room. I was just like, wow, this is
Just tell everybody you need
special.
5 minutes. No, you need to leave, and I need
Yeah.
5
No,
minutes.
that was very cool.
That stuff I wish I could say. I once at a BotCon, one of the Japanese dudes had one of the wooden prototypes for one of the train bots.
Yeah.
Astro Train.
No, it was one of the Raiden train bots.
Oh, okay.
Because he put it in my hands.
Oh.
He said, here, take a look at this. And I was like, why are you doing this? Because I can't move now. That's the kind of stuff I'd love to see. When I was at New York Comic Con once, there was a traveling exhibit for the Outer Spacemen.
Oh, wow.
And they had a lot of the old wooden prototypes for unreleased vehicles, some of the latex prototypes for the bendy toys.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
So talking to them was great. And,
Yeah.
it was kind of cool I've had people recognize me.
Yeah.
Not related to, I do a lot of cons, people have seen me,
Yeah.
but I'm at a party and some woman comes up I don't mean to bother you, but were you on a Netflix show?
I got the
I'm
Netflix cred now.
And that's cool. It's happy that worked.
I was happy to see you on it because and this is a lot of me, but I whenever I see new toy media like that, I get excited, but I get worried.
Sure.
Because there's often a pallor over it of these are playthings.
Yeah.
And when I saw that you were one of the interview subjects, along with several other folks, but I was like, all right, they do know who to talk to.
Yeah. They definitely talked to a lot of good people connected to all those brands and got to hear stories. You're never going to hear the story from the lawyer on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right.
That guy doesn't show up at a convention. I worked down the road or down the alley from him. My office was just down the way, and that guy was a hard ass.
Yeah.
You didn't mess with Jim Kipling. So to see him in that show talking some trash was awesome.
Yeah.
They definitely talked to the right people.
So were there any other properties that you talked about in that for anything?
No, they were
digging for spoilers.
No, they were
We'll
focused
be
on
the
that.
one reveal. Come on.
Yeah, no, nothing yet. I better not say nothing.
I mean, just for the listener's sake, if they're screaming at the podcast device they're listening to, we're not going to start asking Aaron, so what you been working on for the next 3 years of Transformers?
Yeah.
their NDAs and whatnot. I
Right.
assume. Unless you want to spill. I mean, I'm not going to throw you out.
I'm not as connected as you think anymore. My time, I had a great time on it. I was on it a long time, you know.
Yeah.
It's come out a couple times. We've talked about it in other settings. Like, it's weird. It's humbling to have been part of the brand for almost half its lifetime, considering I grew up with it. And you know, that's you don't see it until after the fact. Like, wow, that's. I feel pride in that. You know, having the opportunity to work with Yoke-san and learn from him and be part of that. And you know, it's a continuity and always has been. The people who've, you know, I learned from the guy who did Beast Wars, and the guy Warden learned from me. You know, so it's this nice continuity. I don't know where I'm going with that point, but.
Well, I also noticed, like I think it was last year, it was great to see you talking with folks like David White. I wanted to slip him in here somewhere because I like that dude a lot.
Yeah.
And seeing that, like, not only you're talking to him a lot, you guys are getting along, and you're doing a little bit of work
so
with him on Mechanauts.
we've been collaborating for a while, and now he's just to the point where he's showing, you know, what we collaborated on. We did this crazy fish that can be pulled apart and added to his Predanaut, and you know. That's just getting underway, and I hope it's a lot of fun. It's a different set of hands and stuff to put on in the ports and a new head, and we had fun. We met each other through a mutual friend, and Tony Dieterlese, who's like a world-renowned illustrator of children's books, and we just vibe. We like the '70s aesthetic of robots. Obviously he's. You know, he lives there. I love that style. I can't replicate it quite like he does. So that's been fun. You know, and I've been doing some small publishing with rights holders of kind of smaller, kind of crazier superheroes. There's a guy named TFcon, the Forever Man, that had a Sega Genesis game.
Yes.
Yeah. So the guy who created TFcon was my college mentor.
Oh, cool.
And so now, you know, now that I'm out of Hasbro, it's like, hey, Rob, we should let's do some stuff. So I'm doing a series of TFcon books.
Oh man,
you know,
cool.
with my mentor, and you know, using my licensing knowledge to how to make some of that stuff more fun. And,
are you guys are going for a full publishing thing, or is it going to be?
He self-publishes. He's an independent kind of dude, and has been doing it for 30, 40 years now, and he's a kung fu expert, so he's got a strong mentality about just doing his own thing. And I, you know, that's where I learned a lot of what I learned about confidence and creativity. And how I was able to do some of the things I was able to do. Because a lot of artists don't know how to talk, and they're maybe scared to share their ideas or get ridiculed or shot down. And you know, I learned from this kung fu guy to have confidence.
I had no idea there was like this Kevin Bacon game to play between you and TFcon the Forever Man.
Yeah, that's
and that number
my college
is 1.
Yeah, my college in Akron, Ohio. He was the guy who was making comics in Akron, Ohio. So I went over and was like, let's, you know, I want to draw, you know, and let's learn, you know,
awesome.
I learned from him, and he, you know, learned technical stuff, and I self-published 2 comic books back before I started Hasbro during college through that process with Rob.
That's fantastic. Like, I mean, slight aside, but I mean, I was listening on one of the panels, and like David Wise, who wrote War Dawn, among other G1 episodes, mentioned his education was at a sci-fi writing program where one of his instructors was Ursula Le Guin. Who now you can tie to the Orion Pax episode of the Transformers. I actually wanted to just get quickly, because this is one of the things we talked about some years ago when we did that first interview, and we talked about David White. You know, now in 2018, the state of 3D printing has in toys. It hasn't become mainstream, but it has become a lot more of a presence than it ever was before.
I have a friend, Wayne Losi, that does a thing called Modibot. And you know, he does 3D printing accessories for a injection molded body. It's similar to a, you know, some what you might think of as stickfuss. You know, that style of generic figure that you kind of just put on a theme. You know, and then David's doing his things, and even Trent Troop. You know, I've been working
with B-Log.
Slow roll with Trent a little bit on my side, but we've talked about doing different things, and you know, so that part of it's fun. To work with people doing things, and
when you get to see that medium like not like blow up, but like it's slowly but steadily.
And it's a lot of passion, right? It's still a passion craft. For people who really want to spend the time, because you know, I could design the thing. Maybe I could figure out how to design it in ZBrush or something, but I I personally would never have the interest for the technical 3D printing setup side of things. I'm not a detail oriented person.
Yeah. I know that, and that's the thing that's rough. I know with a few people that do that sort of thing is like you have to know how to orient even to do your slices, to do your build.
And I had guys. I mean, we had a whole robust thing at Hasbro.
Right.
SLAs and scanning and the whole.
I remember, I think it was the Hasbro tour that year at BotCon.
Yeah, probably.
That it was like they had the old school lathes, then they had one of the early, like, extruder style 3D printers, and the person going through was like, that's going to be the future where we'd have a model maker work for 2 days on something we can kick out in 45 minutes.
Well, when I started, we were talking about those wood patterns. I remember different times where, okay, well, it looks good, but it needs to be 10% bigger. You know what that meant? The guy had to start over.
Yeah.
Now you can make the great looking thing and just kind of grow it.
Adjust that size slider knob a little bit.
A negative view of marketers that would request stuff like that because we'd be like, yeah, let me just go into the scale changing machine and make that model happen, or the anti-gravity machine and make it do something that can never physically happen. So we, but with things like computers and 3D printing, we're at a point where you can rescale or even, use the top of one, thing and change the bottom of the mouth.
That's been the amazing thing. The last couple of lines, it seems like the first round of like preview photos that get out there are the 3D models posed to the point where sometimes we've joked that like they left the like wrong face model on something and then it's like, oh well, it's going to have this face, and it comes out and it's like, how did they take the photo of the other thing? It's like, that was probably just a CAD file and somebody loaded the wrong
maybe
face dot model in there, and
and the rapid prototyping side too, for folks who want to still get some hands-on sculpting, where you can print off your rough shape. You can lay clay or wax over. You can just use that to make a resin dupe and then work on the resin piece. It's such a, I feel from the outside anyway, and it sounds like it, having talked to people, it's a really cool time for the indie toy maker.
I think so. I mean, people want authentic stuff. We want to interact now with people that are behind the things, and want to lend our, where I think a lot of people are trying to spend less, but if I'm going to spend it, I want to spend it in ways that make me feel good. And this is beyond toys even, but
absolutely.
And if I can help somebody like a David White, create something, that will elevate everything. That's how I think of it. But
I mean, David, this is for you. I'll just say David White, mechazone.com. Go look him up.
Yeah, it's awesome. Beyond awesome stuff.
I guess like we're I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but thanks for coming by. Someone's gonna yell about it if we don't say it, but like, you're at TFcon again, and it still is also a mecca of both the official and unofficial. And like from your, like, you have a viewpoint. You got a good view of what all's going on. Doesn't have to get into specifics at all. It's just like it's in 2018. How's that stuff washing at you?
I walked through the room today, and I mean, I think it's the first time I would say that I felt like the tide has shifted. I mean, it's more third-party enthusiasm than Hasbro product enthusiasm. I can just see it in the room. So that means that we're an advanced fandom. You guys have all the toys you need. So clearly there's a need for
like the very niche
something else, a niche and higher end and higher intricacy maybe, or just bigger. So, and I think that's where you then get this Megatron masterpiece at a scale and a size and a price, trying to counterbalance some offerings. I still have my overall opinion that it is hard to create toys, hard to create transforming toys, and hard to create transforming toys that look good and play well. If you can do all those things, make your own cool robots. I still think it's weird that you can do everything but create a new head. Why is that so hard?
And I still to this.
I love the motorbikes that came out.
The Unrustables.
Unrustables. So I'll call them out as an example where I'm like, take the transforming technology. That's not proprietary to Hasbro or Transformers. and do your own thing in a legitimate, cool way, and people will respond if the quality is there and the price is there. And I look at those and I go, that's what I would want someone to be making. That's the first example I found where, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
do that.
I mean, I was a lot more starry-eyed last time we talked. But I still, to this day, every time someone comes up with something where they're going to take, unfortunately, the risk in the marketplace of going for an original piece, where you hear,
I get that too,
you hear the most frustrating comments from the buyer side in regards to that stuff, to me anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm not shy about saying it. Like, it really frustrates me when someone even takes the small risk of taking something that is very, like, clearly inspired by a Transformer, but they change a lot of the colors. They even change the aesthetics. It's clearly still, like, say, inspired by Huffer. It's their take on Huffer in a way that is absolutely sideways enough to be, like, not, like, utterly legal, but it is not trying to insert itself into another collection.
Sure.
And people, a lot of people, immediately just jump on it saying, it doesn't look like what I want.
Well, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. It's a sofa bed.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable to sleep on as a bed, and it's not a good sofa either.
And it's so when stuff like Unrustables came up, like, I pushed that so hard, in part because I just want people to, if not accept, at least accept the idea of this stuff, because it's so important. And
my standpoint, honestly, isn't so much at times the intellectual property issues, because those are clear to everybody. I mean, I don't have to call out, hey, that looks a lot like Ultra Magnus or Scorponok.
I just want to shake people who want to still argue that.
But what I always worry about, and what I'll tell everybody all the time, is, I don't know how those toys are made. I don't know the manufacturing quality. I don't know the plastic quality. I don't know the plastic type. I don't know how well they know how to do hinges. If they're using styrene, they're going to snap. There's so many things QA-wise. I know they say adult collectible and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, if any one of these items gets given to a kid, and for whatever reason the item is flawed, and something happens to a kid, it's not going to be third-party goofy robot hurts a kid. It's going to be Transformers robot hurts a kid, and that will hurt us all.
Yeah.
That will hurt us all. And I look at it from that standpoint. I don't want one bad actor to create a landslide that screws everything up. And, somebody getting hurt is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I know it seems like a distant thing away from Hasbro. Well, they're going to be their problem. PR-wise, it'll create,
Yeah.
And it'll be sexier every outlet to go, a Transformer, maimed a kid.
Yeah.
It won't be...
especially the way that news is like, what is the quickest, punchiest, most direct headline, even if it's not real.
So that's my legitimate worry.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what we do at Hasbro, I did at Hasbro, was to make sure those toys were safe, function correctly, would break in a way that wouldn't create sharp points, the hinges would pop or whatever.
Yeah.
And, even us weren't perfect with it, right? And I know I have to assume that the bandwidth of the creators of a lot of these items don't have all the years of experience of the people I worked with and across multitude of divisions. There just couldn't possibly be 70 people working on any of these third-party items. Right. There were at Hasbro on every Transformer item.
Right.
So I just have to worry. I just have to wonder. It's almost not if. It's what and when.
And I want to stress, and I talked about this at that panel before when you were able to come by, and thanks again, by the way, for coming by, that your perspective is coming from a place of experience that is on the other side of that, kind of thin line.
Yeah.
And because a lot of folks I know, the knee jerk is to say, like, oh, well, et cetera, et cetera. But
love is a powerful thing. Screw it. I like it. So
but you're coming from a perspective that's worth, even if we don't, if someone doesn't have it, or whether or not you agree with it, I think it's an important one to hear because it's so hard to hear from that side of the industry, freelance or not, in a company or not.
Yeah.
It's just to take into account when you look at something and you want to just consider.
And with any thing that enters any marketplace that's like or derivative, not always a knockoff, you have to defend the real. So I would hope that anyone who does buy third party also at least buys Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Because you're not being full in your view if you're willing to go one way and not the other way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't support Hasbro, then over time all of it will atrophy.
Yeah, and
I mean, I know that's a weird way to look at it, but
and that's something that I know has been brought up before, and 9 times out of 10 I'd say that, like, you know, somebody does come around and say, well, okay, yeah, third party is hitting this weird sideways thing that there's like 20 people interested in, but you still got to look at, like, you know, if you know, that MP01 Prime had never happened,
yeah.
if third party was even a thing, it'd probably be developing in a completely different direction.
Sure.
And there have been, I don't know if speculations is quite the right word, but there have been a couple times where it seemed like the third party tech would maybe jump a little bit, and then it seemed like Takara and Hasbro would respond with something else that you just
Well, it was
go,
very easy.
whoa,
I mean,
dang, okay,
I mean, it's
somebody pulled out the gloves.
Another tactic. I mean, obviously, it's not cheap to develop any product.
Right.
And, you know, if Hasbro isn't legally going to outwardly go after these companies, I'll keep it nebulous. You know, if I found out someone was doing a big Devastator, it was going to cost $200, we're going to give a Hasbro one for $80. And
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty good. You know,
Use them for free market research.
well, or cock block enough of the purchases to question why I want to get into this.
Right.
You know, I'm going to spend a lot of money to make this mold, and Hasbro can just come out with another Scorponok or Ultra Magnus, or, you know, and you know, maybe hurt that the
Yeah,
reason
I mean-
you're getting into it is hopefully make money, and if you're going to get undercut and maybe potentially lose a third of that money, that's going to affect those smaller companies. Maybe not directly, but you know, it's a different kind of war you play.
Yeah.
Touch and narration for the audience. Our Aaron, Axsmith Aaron, had the most devilish grin on his face when he said free market research, and I really need that to be on the record.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, because it is something that's, at least from our side, has looked like has happened where it has been that reaction.
Well, Hasbro owns the legitimate character,
Right,
so
right.
Yeah.
hey, you're telling me there's interest in Scorponok?
Right.
We can put out a Scorponok,
and that's
there's
and
nothing.
that's kind of a thing
Well,
that
you're gonna come after us? I don't think so.
that I have liked to see, because I mean, most times I like when I buy a third party thing, to me it's something like, you know, the Warren Pocket, you know, the little tiny things that are super intricate that I know Hasbro isn't going to do because it's an intersection of something, you know, I've got the, what's the really fake name of it? The flipper here in hand that isn't a thing that, you know, Hasbro's Legends get close and something pops off, and, you know.
I'll just say Aaron
Just
Aaron
like that.
Smith ham-handed that pretty hardcore. I realize now I keep having to clarify which Aaron I'm talking about.
But, you know, this is the sort of thing that I go for that's outside of that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
When it comes to things like masterpieces, I don't know if I have any of the third-party things, because a lot of times, and I brought it up on the podcast before, it seems like all of those guys use each other to come up with everything, and it's like it's like the Hollywood movies where there were like 3 meteors coming to kill the Earth movies in the same year. And so it's like, okay, now which one was the good? I'll just wait for the Takara Hasbro release, because I know that's not going to be horrible.
I'd also like to say, as a creative person who's done a lot of these things, I respect the heck out of what these guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it on an independent level. They're doing it, you know, kind of gain knowledge. I'm sure there's some engineers and maybe some industrial designers, but I'm guessing a lot of it's passion. And you know, so I don't want to come off that I'm discouraging anyone to use their creativity either. I think that's important. If you're passionate about making items and products, and, you know, clearly to do those third-party items, you've got to put a lot of effort in. So I don't want to take anything away from their creative ability. Maybe the thought process behind what they're doing is what I most am concerned about.
And I want to, like, as someone who just collects third party and official, and I constantly try to make this point of, because there's a lot of folks who want to pick a side in that, and who want to be like, well, I'm third party only, or I'm Hasbro only, or Hasbro Takara Tomy only, and I keep cautioning, like, neither quote unquote company, pretend that this is sort of nebulous, unofficial group of companies, no company involved is going to reward you for your fealty.
Yeah.
It is simply the case of like if you like the property, support the property.
Yeah.
If you like the unofficial effort, by all means pick it up. And going off for our last interview, which I always felt really bad about after the fact, with some of the feedback, I was like, if an Aaron Archer, for instance, is speaking about unofficial product, I don't understand. I understand, I guess. I don't. I want to talk you down from the cliff, person X, who's going like, oh, why isn't he proponenting all of the positive aspects of this field? Yeah. When it's a baseline statement. It's like it's a franchise IP. It's my panel. I like to boil things down a bit to the skin. If you want fresh, official, thriving franchise IP, at some point you got to support it in some way.
Yeah.
Hasbro's not getting any sales. They're gonna not make as many Transformers. It could be all that money that they used to make could be going to third party, but that just means the reel is gonna again somehow atrophy.
And I highly question the notion I've heard of like, well, if it atrophies, then the unofficial will just fill in all the gaps. So I feel like that
Hasbro just have more time to go after those people.
Yeah. I think that's a thing that would...
Also, I just want to throw out that, can you imagine the blood sport that would happen? Like, already there are some third-party companies that very clearly dislike each other. And can you imagine just the ugliness that would occur?
I think it's a thing that, like, in that horrible idea of a world, we'd maybe have, like, 3 years of the third-party boom, and then they would have all eaten each other because, again, with the whole, everybody's releasing their version of War Within Dinobots, and you forget, wait, which one was the good one? Which one was the bad one?
Yeah.
Which one was the one that broke straight out of the box? Because I don't remember. And then after they'd all eaten themselves, it would all just be a wasteland of limping releases versus...
And where I'm a total monster is I actually am really good at mentally cataloging all these company names.
Yeah,
but that's just...
that's like your weird... like
I don't know why.
Superpower.
I don't know why I can't.
Remembering the weird names that they come up with.
Well, sometimes they're funny, like Flipper.
Yeah.
He's a dolphin, but he's a bug. I don't... Anyway, we're going on pretty long here, so I wanna thank you for your time again.
It's always good to sit down. I mean, you're knowledgeable about toys, and I like your point of view about it. We're not just buying stuff and putting it on shelves, and it's not just as easy to say, "Oh, I really love this." There's a lot more going on, and I like this discussion you've started in your panels.
I think it's...
get to the the whys about a lot of it.
I mean, a lot of it, I say it in the panel, like, a lot of it's me trying to sort some stuff out, but
I think we all have these thoughts. We all haven't put them all together, but when I hear bits and bops of it, I'm like, oh yeah.
But I look at other media that I would consider kind of sister enthusiast media, like tabletop gaming, video gaming, like specific niche, like hardcore movie and TV enthusiasts. Who all in the last 20 years, I feel, more so in the last 20 years as we became more interconnected, began to figure out new ways to slice open the things that they love, and not to peel it apart, to hate it, but to peel apart to find more of its bits and pieces. And I feel like toys are always right about there, like very close to crossing the line.
Well, it's the difference between getting stuff and having things that enrich your life.
Yeah.
Merchandise doesn't have to be a negative.
Exactly.
It is something to fulfill something, no different than baseball cards or new curtains or new paneling in the den, whatever makes you happy to spend your money on, it makes your life a little bit more satisfying, whatever. So enjoy the hobby.
And then my fear was that I would go into this panel and come out thinking like maybe toys are just playthings, but it's the response from other folks where it's clear, like the things I never thought about that other people are saying that they're not part of my experience. I'm just talking about how cool my panel is now. So,
but it's an important discussion that you're going to keep going with.
I'm going to push that panel as hard as I can. I want to keep at it.
Yeah. Very cool. So I love talking to you guys. I love being here at these cons
and thanks for saying hi all the time. Like I was talking about this with some other folks too, other guests that we've encountered over the years. But I appreciate that you take the time, not just me, but a lot of other folks to recognize, say hello to people.
I've been around everybody for 15 years myself at this point. You guys are as much my friends as you are to each other. I mean, we see each other 2-3 times a year in some cases during certain years, and have a lot of beers, have a lot of good times, a lot of laughs, a lot of standing in lines, together. Waiting for me to mouth off about the next whatever at a panel, and it's not a one-way street, I'm a human creative person, and I like to interact with people.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be part of this.
I gotta ask, because I was running around a lot during the convention, didn't get to see every panel. Did you get any awkward cues at the Q&A? Or
I don't think so. I mean, I kind of explained a couple times this weekend that what has done is done.
Yeah.
I can't change the past, and all of us either like things or don't like things, and it doesn't matter to me. We can talk all day long how much Energon products suck. How much the toys didn't live up to the combining thing, how much they got squared off compared to the other two lines around them, and I agree. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I got paid for that 20 years ago. It's not going to emotionally affect me. So I can have the dialogue, and we can have tough conversations about, that was a really dumb idea, or that didn't live up to the potential.
So what did happen with Armada Thrust spinning chest plate gimmick?
I don't know. The gray guy? The little gray guy?
The green conehead guy.
The green conehead
big,
jet
spinny
that, the
thingy.
wings.
I don't know. That one was a long time ago. That was a Takara,
Yeah, put on the other guys.
Yeah, that wasn't part of the brief. I know that.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the other
happened with the model making is kind of what would happen sometimes. You're like,
that's one of the other BotCon
good alibi.
That the BotCon after that toy, I just remember it was one of the few times you guys really kind of just loosened up at a Q&A. Someone just said, what was Thrust supposed to do? And the unanimous reply, to paraphrase, was kind of like, it didn't turn out.
Yeah. And the reason I can't remember, I mean, you guys in some cases live with stuff and remember it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, we were churning and burning. I often say, that was probably a decision that was made over an hour and a half.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, probably made over an hour and a half one Thursday afternoon.
Yeah,
and never looked back.
And you mentioned that earlier today, where it was for us, we receive the thing and begin our experience with it after you have already, it's out of your life. By the time a toy shows up,
I haven't touched it for 10 months.
Yeah.
And so, by the time the barrage of questions or despair or delight,
it's like a year ago.
We wouldn't even know. Did that release? Cool. Because we're on. I mean, we were on to the next thing. If right now, we're in July of 18. Those guys are working in February 2020 product.
Yeah.
Right now. Mm-hmm. They're already working on the next movie or the next cartoon. And so, that became disjointed. And certainly, I can't remember things that happened. With the multitudes of things that hit you every day. Those little decisions get lost.
And I'm very guilty asking that question because people ask me, "Hey, what did you talk about in the podcast 7 days ago?" And I'm like, "What? Huh?"
Well, I always tell people. I mean, you guys do. You have a year till the next con to look at that thing. Why did they make that decision? What were they? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet the Hasbro guy and ask the.
I've seen that.
I've run into Monzo and different guys a lot. I spent a year ready to ask this tough question, and I don't even have an answer.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was I don't know. We just decided.
That was before lunch on a Friday. We just wanted to get that done.
But to the fan, this is an important thing. I want to know, and that level of thought isn't. It's not that it's not thoughtfully designed, but that level of intricate detail isn't.
It's slicing open a thing that to a level of detail where you're like that. Like you said, that was a thing we did before lunch, and I remember lunch more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, that was that big sushi day that everybody came back to the office just full of fish.
So I unfortunately can't be the archivist that people sometimes want me to be, but I definitely could put us into the time period of what was happening and why, and kind of locate the answer that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out to TFcon again.
Thank you.
And please keep coming on out as much as they invite you.
I think I'll see you in Chicago if you're there.
For sure.
And I'm doing TF Nation in a few weeks.
Oh, have fun there.
So that's my first trip to England for a Transformer convention.
They're a wonderful bunch of people. I've never made it to Auto Assembly or TF Nation or any of the other shows there, but I have so many friends and contacts over there.
I hear good things, and gonna hang out with some friends.
Yeah.
You know, Raz and stuff, and so I'm stoked to go.
Awesome. Yeah, we got to catch up in Chicago again. And, maybe I won't like shove microphones at you right away next time.
That's all right. Like I say, I'm here to talk, so
Yeah.
I'm talking.
Bring all the cool sketchbook stuff you keep talking about.
Yeah.
Then we can look at each design and say, what was this?
What sketchbooks?
Just bring more photos of young Aaron.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
God,
true.
no,
Yeah, post that. That'll be the holder image for the YouTube.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, he'll make that the image.
And what
thing
we're talking about is I have a picture of the one of the first 2 cons I went to, 03 or 04. We think it's 03.
I think 03.
And Aaron Smith is sitting in the front row corner seat of the aisle,
Yep.
ready to hear whatever we were ready to talk about, and he's all of 21, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But I got pictures of Monzo and all of us. We've all been growing up together, and so I do. It was fun to show those old pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it and was just like, and Alfie was right next to me and she's like, what? And I like pointed at the screen and thankfully right then it changed, so she didn't see that.
Oh, she'll see it eventually.
Yeah, she
I
will.
already saw it.
She already saw it.
Oh, you saw it again? Did it loop back around or
Yeah,
something?
you look more like a nerd than you were today.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Love you too, dear.
And with that,
We are going to bid you all adieu. Thanks for listening to all our TFcon stuff. We may record a thing on Monday morning. Depends on whether or not Aaron's shaking his head, and Aaron Smith is shaking his head, so we're definitely going to. And we'll catch you all later.